Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
I'm speechless. I'll tell you what. This is the power of 12 as 1, man. This is a heck of a job. When you do it together, this is what you can do. How about the 12s?
Now, coming into the season, you were an afterthought to the Rams, to the 49ers. How did it feel to go through both of those teams to earn your trip to the Super Bowl?
We did not care. It's about us. It's always been about us and what we do. And now we're going to the Super Bowl.
There you go. That was Mike McDonald, of course, the Seattle Seahawks head coach, after they beat the Rams 31-27 to win the NFC Championship game and advance to the Super Bowl, where they'll face the Patriots in a rematch of Super Bowl 49. Beanie Bros today.
Right, of course.
I'm here. Griffin is not.
Yeah, what the hell? I thought we weren't going in. That was.
Well, no, the idea was that like if it was impossible to come in, we wouldn't come in.
Okay.
I never got a text from you saying I tried. I spent hours digging it out.
I was
Yeah.
trying. I mean, I wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We got like 3 feet of snow here. It's crazy. It's
No, you didn't.
well,
No, you didn't.
it feels like it with the amount of ice that we got.
No, you didn't. It's not that. It's
no,
the
feels like
same as it was in northern Baltimore County. But that's okay. I don't think that we need to have more people on the roads today. Although, ironically, the nice part about nobody being on the roads is makes it kind of easy to get around, if I'm being totally honest. I have been out a couple of times, unfortunately. Yesterday, I made a short drive from TV Hill to Cross Keys, and that short drive was hell. That short drive was awful. My drive back this morning from Cross Keys to TV Hill was not great, but not quite as awful as that drive was yesterday. My drive from TV Hill to Towson today wasn't bad at all. It was quite fine. So, again, I'm not saying everybody go out and just do things for the sake of it, but if you need to be somewhere, you probably can.
You're saying if you go out fast too, is what you're saying.
No, not saying
no,
that either.
okay.
Just saying that if you have to be somewhere, if you need to, you'll probably be all right. But it's gonna be an issue. Like that's what everybody keeps talking about. The salt is struggling against the ice. I don't think we all have the liquid magnesium lying around to just be using at will. So it creates the situation that we're in, which is not ideal. But we're going to do the show this way today. And coming up a little bit later on, Rick Minter is going to join us. If you listen to the radio show Friday, then you are aware that we actually had that conversation with Rick Minter last Friday afternoon. The father of Ravens head coach Jesse Minter. Rick Minter is a coaching lifer. He was once the head coach at the University of Cincinnati, and he has in the last 4 years been with the University of Michigan and the LA Chargers, working for his son after his son once worked for him. So looking forward to meeting Rick Minter and talking to him about his son and what his son's going to bring to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll do that later on in the program. Also today, our buddy Femi Ayanbadejo is going to hop on with us, Super Bowl 35 champion. And this coming Wednesday is the 25th anniversary of the Ravens winning Super Bowl 35. So we will chat with him about his memories of that week and that day as Femi joins us a little bit later on. So that's what's coming up on the program today. Today's show is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. If you're looking for somewhere to hang out and watch the big game, and if you don't know what the big game is, it's the game that they're going to play at the end of the football season. It's the football game with the folks from up in Foxborough taking on the gentlemen from out in Seattle, and they're going to do it in California. But we're not allowed to say anything other than that. If you're looking for the best spot to watch it, great giveaways, food and drink specials, 100-foot media wall. It's Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. So make sure you make your plans now and get your reservations in for the big game. As far as the football is concerned from yesterday, some thoughts. One, it's a shame. I'm trying to say this the right way. No one's willing to have the fully adult conversation about the line between how much we enjoy the visuals of snow football versus the reality of the football that's played in the snow. And it's not one side's fault. There's a group of people that genuinely believe that the elements are a massively important part of football. There's a group of people that think that that's insane. The truth is, of course, somewhere in the middle, which is I understand. I understand why we like the elements, and I understand that we all have memories and that we all, you know, you can't remember almost any regular season game, but the day that it snowed and the Ravens played the Vikings, you remember everything about that game. But is that because it snowed, or is that because it was an absolute thriller where there were 4 touchdowns in like the last 2 minutes? And if it had been 82 degrees and sunny outside, we remember it the same way because of the insanity of it. It's a complicated conversation that just devolves into you're wrong, you're an idiot, this is the way that football is supposed to be played, or you're wrong, you're an idiot. There is a real conversation in there somewhere. Was the football bad yesterday because the weather was awful, or was the football bad yesterday because the football was bad? And in the AFC Championship game, that is. And I don't know fully what the answer to that question is. To be fair, before it was snowing like crazy in the second half, the teams weren't doing much in the first half. There weren't a whole lot of points being scored. The only reason why the Patriots scored a touchdown is because of a somewhat controversial, but I think ultimately correct call fumble late in the half. It was bad football before the weather was terrible. It was worse football after that. As a viewer, I don't want worse football. I like picturesque. I like the sort of fun anomaly of the idea of weather being a factor. But I kind of prefer just to play the sport. And we've associated with football with weather for a long time. And I think that we're going to struggle to ever convince everyone that football should be dissociated from weather because of that. But we don't even play most other sports in weather like that. Yes, soccer, they'd still play in the snow. And I know the Canadian Championship last year,
Yeah.
people seem to get a kick out of.
Oh, I
Lacrosse
see
will
what you did there.
yeah, yeah, really thought that one through. Lacrosse will still play in the snow. List of sports. it's just an awkward. I want to have it as an adult conversation and not just have it fall back to this was stupid. This wasn't even football. I don't want that to be the case because I get it. But I worry that the reason why we defend it is only because it's what we know and not actually because it's defensible. I worry that we defend it just because we have romantic feelings about other times we've watched games in the snow. Like that famous Thanksgiving game between the Cowboys and the Dolphins, where it snowed in Dallas on Thanksgiving, which is insanity.
It was outside.
Yeah, it was at the old Texas Stadium.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um, I worry that that's the reason why we feel the way that we feel about the topic and not actually because we're really thoroughly considering it. And particularly for something with the stakes of an AFC championship game, I, I lean towards the idea that I don't want the games to be played in dramatic weather conditions. I just want the football games to be played as best they possibly can. Um, I don't think it's changing. I mean, I certainly don't think that that is a majority opinion. I think it's fairly 50-50 and maybe a little bit more to the side of, no, I like it when the weather's bad. Of course, those people also don't really like going to the games in those circumstances. We know that because we watch the ticket prices when there's extreme weather. And not to say that people are ever going to not go to the AFC Championship game, obviously, when it's a game like that. It could be played in, I mean, it could have been in Baltimore yesterday, and they would have played the game, and we would have. It's weird. All the same people
That would
that
have been
can't
awesome.
get to,
Yeah.
all the same people that can't get to work today. It's so weird how Griffin was like, I couldn't possibly make it in. If there was an AFC Championship game in Baltimore yesterday, it's wild how all of those same people who couldn't possibly get out of their cul-de-sac today would have shoveled the entire cul-de-sac and every road in the neighborhood to allow themselves to get out and get to the game had it been played yesterday. It's just real weird how those things work. There's not a whole lot to say about the game itself. I know there was a lot of controversy about Sean Payton. Bad day to be a Sean facing a Mike. Sean Payton choosing to eschew a field goal attempt in the first half that would have put them up 10-0 in favor of going for the touchdown. Again, I don't think it's a black and white issue. I understand the argument that, like, you're starting Jarrett Stidham, you know there's weather in the forecast. You need to get as many points as you possibly can. But when you say it that way, you need to get as many points as you possibly can. The argument back would be correct. That's why we were trying to get 14 and not 10. We wanted as many points as we possibly can. And that's the tough part about, again, trying to, and I know it comes off as like both sidesism.
Right.
I think
I
it's
mean, and if they
easy.
knew, yeah, if they knew there was gonna be 20-mile-per-hour winds in one direction plus sideways snow in the second half,
Well,
it's
I mean,
actually
they
gonna stick to
definitely
it,
knew
yeah.
there was weather coming in. I mean,
Yeah.
how bad they knew that weather was going to be, I don't know. But they definitely knew there was weather coming in. Um, And it was also a 7-0 game. If it was a 10-7 game at that point, I think it's much easier to say clearly you kick the field goal, get it back to level, and go from there. But it was 7-0. And we're obsessed with that decision and not as much about the fumble that really hurt them. Um, the Broncos probably were never going to win the game because there was probably always a limit. Although I'll tell you, when Jarrett Stidham aired it out on the first drive of the game, there was that small part of me that was like, I don't know, maybe, maybe. But ultimately, this is probably always going to be the way that it was going to go. And it definitely does not make you think anything different of the Patriots. Like that, I know the Patriots are a good football team. I just don't know if the Patriots are a good football team. And I think everyone understands what I'm saying. They're here. They won the games. They deserve to be here. That's the way it works. We have a system in place. Whoever wins the most states in a presidential election gets to be the president. Whoever wins the playoff games gets to go to the Super Bowl. The Patriots did what they were supposed to do, and they're in the Super Bowl, and they deserve to be in the Super Bowl. And by the way, I can't tell you that they can't win the Super Bowl. I It's one football game. It's one. And the Seahawks are not, while they're definitely the better of the two teams, they're not overwhelming with superstars. They're just the better of these two football teams. So it's a weird year. I had a message from somebody because I was, I've been doing a lot of radio the last 2 days. I had a message from somebody. I'm trying to remember who it was. Dan. Dan says, you guys were talking about how much parity there was in the AFC and the NFC playoffs, but in the end, it's the 1 seed in one conference and the 2 seed in the other. Doesn't that prove that this wasn't quite as up for grabs as you were trying to project that it was? Um, yeah,
So, so what's
I
he
don't know.
asking? He's asking that. Well, the Rams though it was weird. It's weird though because the Rams were they were in the NFC West.
Yeah,
Like,
they
that
were
was
the
the only
five
thing
seed, but that was just because of a
Yeah,
larf.
like they
And
would
that's
have
just
been
because of the
the
goofy
two.
seeding process. But they
Yeah,
also
they would have
didn't
been the two
win.
or
The
three.
Seahawks won. The Seahawks won. The 1 seed and a 2 seed ended up in the Super Bowl. And his point is, we were talking like how if the Ravens could get in, then it was
Oh,
anybody's to win. And he's saying this proves that it wasn't just the case, that it was anybody's to win. Maybe. I I don't know. I also still think it sort of shows how goofy this was. The Patriots have still yet to be particularly good, and yet they're in the Super Bowl. I, it's a complicated conversation, man. I mean, it really is that we're just trying to oversimplify. That I still think that if the Ravens had gotten in somehow, if Tyler Luke makes that kick, you can't tell me that it was impossible that they could beat the Texans. And if they had, sorry, yeah, they had beaten the
yeah.
Texans. And if they had beaten the Texans, you can't tell me that it would be impossible. Just none of these teams are all that overwhelming to me. And even, look, I think the Seahawks and the Rams were definitely better than either of the two teams in the AFC Championship game. And yet I don't feel strongly about either of them either. I I think the Seahawks deserve to be favorites. And I think that if things go their way, they win the Super Bowl. But yesterday was a day where Sam Darnold didn't turn the ball over. Does that make me suddenly say that I think Sam Darnold is definitively an unimpeachable quarterback who's absolutely going to play brilliantly in the Super Bowl? Not a chance in hell. I think it's just as likely that Sam Darnold turns the ball over 3 times in the Super Bowl. Weird year. And in so many ways, that makes it all the more infuriating that in this weird year, the Baltimore Ravens couldn't figure out how to be good. This will be it's a compelling Super Bowl in that it's not compelling, which is a weird way of saying it. It's not full of superstars. One of the coaches no one knows at all, other than us and the folks
They're
in
learning him
Seattle.
quick. Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
Well, they know he doesn't like his son, and
right. He only gets to spend 30 minutes with his son. That's what they know about him. The
and
other one,
he's got good speeches, good preseason speeches.
I mean, I guess I don't even remember what was his preseason speech.
The Seahawks were sharing it this week, and they were like,
I,
it's going to be we're
that was
looking
that
at
video.
skip ahead
Yeah,
9 months. Although that
I
was
vaguely
when he
remember
first
that.
got there. Yeah, that was good speech.
Nobody knows who Mike McDonald is. Some people know who Mike Vrabel is, but that's because he was a player. Like that, they wouldn't know him otherwise. That's what this is, and it's just it's interesting. It's interesting that one of these two teams is going to be a Super Bowl champion. It's interesting that I get that Drake May is going to finish second in MVP voting, but does anyone watch Drake May and say, "My God, that guy is special"? And maybe he will be. He's only in his second year. Right now, you watch him and you say, he seems like a pretty good quarterback. That in a down year kind of defaulted his way into the MVP conversation. As far as stars otherwise on the field, there's almost none. There's Jackson Smith and Jigba.
JSN. Yeah,
That's it. That's
Christian
like the
Gonzalez
list.
ish.
He's getting there. I mean, I get that, but he's certainly not there's no brand name value to that.
Yeah.
And that's, again, that makes it kind of interesting because it really is the Super Bowl of like, who are these guys? Who would get all of the media attention at a Super Bowl media day, or what do they call it now, opening night? Like,
Yeah.
who's
I
going to
mean,
be
it's gonna be Drake
highly
May. It's gonna
I
be Drake May, right? I
guess.
mean, like he's gonna be this. He's gonna
Well,
turn into a
and Sam
star.
Darnold by default because they're the quarterbacks. But like that's kind of it. It's going to be those guys, and that's the way it's going to go. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure. All right, it is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio, a snow version of Glenn Clark Radio, as we are doing things virtually today. And this week, we are also celebrating. This Wednesday is the 25th anniversary of the Baltimore Ravens winning Super Bowl 35. And I've done this. I said this to him, but I should say it to everybody. I screwed up because I love this man. I love our next guest. I think you all know that. He's not only one of my favorite people, but I think he's better than almost anybody in the world at doing this. And I love his passion and I love his fire. And he's the most purple bleeding, purple loving, purple drinking, purple person ever. And he's a Super Bowl 35 champion. He's our friend Femi Ayanbadejo, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Femi, I love you, brother. Really appreciate you. Great to have you back, man. Thank you for taking the time for
What's up,
us.
Glenn, man? Happy New Year. Love you too, brother. And I appreciate it. Purple is wearing, purple is drinking, purple is bleeding, ravenous raven you'll ever meet. That's what it is right
Ever,
there, bro.
ever. And I know that to be a fact, bro. Before we talk about the anniversary, I know because I
Mhm.
heard you on BAL, I know you're on board with Jesse Minter as being the right guy in this moment for the
Mhm.
Ravens.
Yeah, absolutely. Checks a lot of boxes for me. A lot of people ask me, are you excited? I don't need to be excited. I need to be reassured, is what I've been telling people. And I think this is a young head coach with a really high ceiling, a really high floor. He's been in Baltimore. He's had success calling defenses for over a decade now. He's 43, but he's had 10 years of play calling experience as a DC from Indiana State to Georgia State to Vanderbilt to University of Michigan and obviously the Chargers as well. And everywhere he's been, all he's done is win. And so I don't look at him as a direct Harbaugh descendant. I look at him as an influence, a person who's been influenced by uh, the Harbaugh approach, both Jim and John. But I also think he's looped out far enough on his own to pull experiences, probably from his dad, who was a longtime coach, and other folks, that he's been able to touch directly and indirectly. So, what I've been told and what I've been able to gather is that he commands the room. He always gives his players tidbits in regard to predictive data and analytics. He's creative. And look, he unlocked Adafe Owe in a way that, for whatever reason, we couldn't do. And so when I listen to Jimmy Smith, when I listen to Travis Kelce, who's gone against him, when I listen to Derwin James, when I listen to other folks that he's come into orbit with in regard to former coaches that he's worked with, they've all had pretty amazing um, experiences with him and believe that he will be outstanding. So I'm happy with it. I wanted an X and O expert on one side of the ball or the other, and truth be told, I wanted a defensive guy. And it's bonus that he understands the play like a Raven culture. And my thought is he'll do what Harbs did in regard to what Brian started, and Jesse will do what Harbs did in regard to adding on top of that, and kind of paving his own path, but also understanding the culture and the expectation in regard to who we are as Ravens and what our expectations are. So it's not lost on him that the assignment is a Lombardi. It's not winning the AFC North. It's not Lamar getting more MVPs, although I think those things probably are positively correlated. Um, yeah, I am excited. The next thing that needs to drop for me is who the offensive coordinator is going to be. And I wanted Mike McDaniel this whole time, but I could be happy with a couple other guys as well.
Femi, you said something interesting. You said you wanted a defensive guy. Can you just, because I think a lot of people operate on I'd always prefer it's an offensive guy because I'm, perennially afraid that you have an offensive coordinator that works with a defensive head coach, and then you lose him to being a head coach 2 years later, and then in that 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years thing that people always talk about. Why did you specifically think that it was time for it to be a defensive guy?
Yeah, I think that there's something in regard to the foundation and how we operate. There was something systemic that I think needed to be fixed. And I only think a defensive guy. No, let me run. Only the Sith operate in absolutes, right? For those Star Wars fans that are out there.
Nice.
So it's not only that a defensive guy could do it, but my belief is that a defensive minded head coach is more likely to reinstill what has made us who we are over the last 3 decades. It's not that he could only do it, but I just felt like getting back to our roots of winning in the trenches, being bullies, dominating the defensive side of the ball, running the football, special teams, and stopping the run. And don't get me wrong, Harbs did plenty of that. I just felt like since 2023, we've gotten away from that a little bit. And I also felt there was a little bit of a disconnect in regard to complementary football between the offense and the defense. And I think a defensive head coach will more quickly reinstill those things. And that's why I'm leaning toward a defensive-minded expert in regard to hiring a DC to be the head coach.
I respect that. When you bring up McDaniel, is there anything like I feel like there's an argument to be made that maybe it isn't as important who your OC is when you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback because Lamar Jackson is his own offense, is the way that some people like to say it. What are you interested in? What does concern you, and why does McDaniel? Because I'll agree with you wholly. If there is a world where Mike McDaniel is not done to the Chargers and is available, I am, of course, absolutely interested in Mike McDaniel. But what is it that you're looking for there?
Yeah, just know that Mike McDaniel is uh, an offensively philosophical guy that starts with the run game, and he's everywhere he's been, even in his 20s, he's been part of installing and adding creative components to the run game. Everyone that's worked with him can tell you that. And I'm probably one of the earliest players that he's coached in his coaching career in regard to his positional prowess. He was my running backs coach
How old
when
was
I played.
how old were you? How old was he at that point?
So is he 44 now?
I think I
So
saw,
if
yeah.
yeah, if he's 44 now, this was 17 years ago. So 2009, when I was my last pro year of football, and he was the running
Okay.
backs coach for the California Redwoods. I was playing in the UFL, and Denny Green was the head coach, and we brought in Mike McDaniel as the running backs coach. And so, I guess what was he? He was in his late 20s at that time,
He's
but
actually 42 apparently.
he's 42, so even
Yeah.
younger than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he must have been like 25 or 26 at that time. You know what I mean? And he was our run game coordinator, but he was also the running backs coach. And his run game roots go back to the Kubiak Shanahan philosophy of outside zone and outside stretch runs with play action bootlegs and screens and counters off that, which is all like Lamar. Lamar has not really had that niche component. He's done, don't get me wrong, Lamar is obviously seen and heard it all and done it all between Coach Monken and what was Greg Roman, right? So he's done some of that, but I think Mike McDaniel really marries a complex timing-based passing game with the components of the run that we already have with zone read, but his own unique branch on the Shanahan Kubiak tree that I think is just really unique. I think he's, in my opinion, and look, this is just my opinion when I'm reading tea leaves and listening to people talk. I think Mike McDaniel is probably the most creative of the Clint and Clay Kubiaks and the Webbs and the McVays. Like, I think that he's probably the most creative just based on what I've seen. Creativity doesn't mean the most successful. It just means creative, right? And I'd love to see that creativity paired with Lamar Jackson. And I know that when I listen to Mike McDaniel talk about Lamar, I just feel like we would be stratospheric in regard to what the output could be. And so, yeah, and I know it's not really possible now. Like, the chances of that happening are really slim since he's kind of verbally committed to the Chargers. But if there's a world where he could back out of that, I would love it. And doesn't mean, and look, my second choice would be Joe Brady.
Sure.
I've been making it a point to really watch how Joe Brady called plays for Buffalo, especially the AFC divisional round and just throughout the season. I've watched Buffalo quite a bit, and I think no one gets more out of less than Joe Brady. He has been prolific in his play calling. He's a calculated risk taker. He's risk averse in some circumstances, which I think to me, you can't let fear dictate how you call games. Like, you have to go for the jugular. And yes, let me give you a perfect example when aggression was not a good thing yesterday. And I know everyone knows this, but Sean Payton should have taken the 3 points based on the fact of who is playing quarterback, because you just don't know how many points you're going to get. And you can't just be predictable in the fact that we're always going to take risk. We're always going to go for it. Like, look, I love Detroit, but the idea that whenever it's 4th and 1, no matter what, no matter where, no matter who's playing, and no matter the circumstance, we're always going to do this thing. I'm not a fan of that. Like, you have to be in the moment, and situational football requires you to be present and presently decide, like, what is the right decision that we should make and what are the ramifications if we get it wrong. It should never be, once again, an all or nothing binary choice. And so Joe Brady, for me, looks like a really intelligent, in the moment, self-aware guy. And then it seems like Cliff has some momentum based on what the receivers from here say. Hollywood Brown's interaction with Cliff and his relationship with Lamar, it seems like Cliff has some foothold in the mind of the Ravens players as well. And if they're happy, I'm happy. So that's my other guy that I would bring up.
There you go. He's Femi Ayanbadejo. He's with us here on GCR. Femi, I was talking to Rod about it last week, but can you take me back to the days leading up to your guys get to Tampa and the confidence that you had at that point that this wasn't even going to be close. Like that, it's funny because I was joking with Rod that the way you guys were acting then, like Nick Saban would call it rat poison, right? Like we're not going to, but the overwhelming confidence that you guys had as a football team that you were going to do this, where it came from, and why it worked for your group to play with that type of swagger.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think about the world that we live in now and the digitalness of it and the tech-driven social component of it, and kind of this kind of implicit war that's happening between content creators and traditional journalism, right? And the way that everybody is trying to carve out their space and create their narrative. Well, guess what? None of that bullshit was a problem back then. You know what I mean? There was a few guys that had the ear, and yes, the traditional outlets and media that were basically, like USA Today, and then obviously you have your Baltimore Sun, you have your macro kind of larger national sources, and then you have your local media sources. And to be honest, I think that there wasn't a lot of conspiracy theories and nonsensical narratives and what I call parasitic relationships happening. I mean, there was definitely people controlling the narrative based on their tenure and power, but it wasn't as wild as it is now. So back then, it's either that you listen to the national or the local media, or you basically just convinced of yourself, no matter how delusional you might have been, of what reality is. That's what a lot of locker rooms were, and to some degree they still kind of are. But all the information in media now penetrates everything now. Everyone that hears and sees everything, and no one knows what to believe, right? But then it was very easy to incubate yourself and be numb to exogenous sources. Like, you just didn't care. It didn't matter. You decided, you believed it, you convinced yourself. Nobody could fight you about it. Nobody was talking about, or very few people were talking about they heard this from a player, or this player said that, or these anonymous sources said this. No, we created our narrative, and it was the only narrative that we heard because we weren't being bombarded by BS 24/7. And so our reality was the reality that we created. We believed we'd whip anyone's ass. We believed that we would show up and kick ass and take names, and we did. And nobody can really debate that. And there was really no one, no matter the medium of comms, there was really no one that could refute it, because wherever we went, we showed up, we won. I think we won our last 12 games in a row leading up to that Super Bowl. So, and we went through a lot of stuff. Think about the stuff off the field that we were dealing with at that time. And then also think about the fact that on the field, I think we went for a 5-week stretch where we didn't score a touchdown, right? And then we changed quarterbacks, and then we went heavy run philosophy. And we just basically said, like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take points when they come. We're going to protect the football, and we're going to beat everybody's ass on special teams and defense. And that was our strategy. It wasn't complicated, and everyone knew what was coming, but they couldn't stop it. And so Rod's assessment and your assessment of how we were feeling psychologically was spot on.
Can I ask a chicken and the egg version of that though, Femi? Like, did the results come because of that attitude, or did the attitude come after the results? Like, did you guys build up that swagger and that led to that domination, or did the domination come, or did that attitude come after you saw it happening and you saw what you were doing?
I mean, I wish I could give you a real simple cliche answer, but I think that the truth of the matter is that they both kind of happened together, right?
Yeah, I buy it.
And so and I actually think what led to that kind of mantra and mindset was actually the 1999 season. What people don't remember is we started 2-6, but we finished 6-2, and we had a stretch in there where I think we won like 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7 or 5 in a row. Like I got to look it up, but we knew going into the end of 1999 that we had a good football team, because if you just looked at the second half of that season, we were really tough. And I think we beat Tennessee, who was a beast then. And I think we had beaten Jacksonville at that point. Like we had won a lot of games against teams that had really dominated the AFC at that time, but we were beating them. And I think we blew out Tennessee, and I think Tennessee went to the Super Bowl like right around that same time. You know what I mean? And we destroyed them. And so we knew going into the 2000 season that we were going to be a force. And one of the things I love about Brian is that Brian was really good about building up our ego. You know what I mean? He was really good about building up our confidence and making it us against the world. You know, there's those videos of him in Tennessee and what he said, and like Shannon on the field, like, yeah, we said it. Yeah, we
Dude, it's
like
so
you know what I mean?
when you saw the people getting losing their minds about Ben Johnson a couple weeks ago, like, did you laugh about that? Because I like to me, it's maybe my favorite moment in Ravens history. Brian Billick doing the F the Titans thing, like it, and I know that like he's been sheepish about it and didn't love that the audio came out and wanted it to be in the locker room moment, but. I love that he had that mentality and that it worked with you guys, and I thought that was the same thing for Ben Johnson and his group. Like, this works for our group. You heard DJ Moore say it after the regular season win over the Packers, right? Like, he catches the touchdown in the interview. You could tell it was working for that group to play the F the Packers thing. And I feel like that's just a coach who's in tune with his guys the way it felt like it was with Brian and you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you just have to be ready for the consequences if it gets out. You know what I mean? And so as long as you're cool with the consequences, because it's really hard to keep everything private and under wraps. And there's been plenty of things that have definitely been kept private and under wraps in there for players and coaches only, for sure. But every once in a while, you just don't know who's listening and who's recording. And so, look, if you can live with it being out there, then hey, rock it, do your thing. But if you can't live with it being out there, then you got to be careful. You know what I mean? So,
I get it.
I wish there was a little bit more. Like I like the intensity and the kind of rivalries. I wish we could ramp those back up. But I also enjoy seeing that guys can be friends and be cordial. Like it's like I can fight you and I don't want to whip your ass and I can talk trash to you, but I can also be like, hey man, good job. I see you were struggling. Like I can be both things. Like that's just having a dynamic personality, right? Like I don't have to hate you, but I can still want to whip that ass. I can still and I can still like talk trash and be angry with you. And let me just pivot for a second. This is what's missing to me in a lot of media. Everything is so binary. It's like if you say this, then you can't say that. If you feel this way, then you can't feel that way. Really?
Yeah.
Says who? So you're going to tell me that Coach Harbaugh, Lamar, and Coach Monken can't have a dynamic relationship between the three of them, that on the foundational level, it's all love and they respect and love working with each other. But on a day-to-day basis, there's not volatility and disagreements and arguments. That's every relationship you've ever had in your life. Why the media, especially the local media, and you know who they are, freaking clowns, they know who they are, getting upset because it's binary and trying to dig into who said what, who did what. And it's so petty. It's so silly. Just irritates the shit out of me because that's not how the locker room actually works. And none of them would know because they never played pro football. They've never won a championship. They don't actually talk to the players because they burn that bridge. Well, guess what? I haven't done that. So I'm the guy who's here to keep it real. I'll give the critique when I need to. I'll give the flowers when I need to, but I will not stand by idly and watch people make shit up. I will not do that. And I'm here. 2025 has been a year of reckoning, and 2026 will be a year of reckoning just the same. So if the parasites want to continue to create silliness, I will be here to hit it with my wand. So be ready.
I love you. I love you, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, come on, Glenn Clark. Hey, come on, bro. Like
I love you, man.
I don't have time for these people, bro. I don't have time for it. You know,
Bro,
if you
you know
want,
what's funny too? I feel like, and I don't know where you are with this. I am the type that tries to give less breath to the most nonsensical of all of it. Like I'm just, bro, you can't ignore it. Like I promise
yeah,
you, you can't ignore it
yeah.
because we all know that it's utterly nonsensical, and we all know that it's bullshit. Like we all recognize that. I promise you, you can ignore it.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I'm swimming on my own lake on that because I just feel like in society anymore, we are not capable of ignoring it.
Well, I think this is the question you have to ask yourself. You know, I look at myself as somebody who, like, this is just a walk in the park for me. Like, my pulse is still 55. Like, if you get too worked up over this and you can't handle the heat or the smoke, then yeah, go ahead and sit down and let the grown-ups do the work. Then I'm happy for that. And I'm not saying that about you, Glenn. You live
No,
in
but
like
I'm
I'm
glad you brought it up because you and I have dealt
yeah,
through
yeah.
that. Like we've
Oh
we've
yeah, we
gone
have,
after
yeah.
each other, and
No, we
then
have.
you called me 5 minutes later and said, "Dude, I love you." You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, no,
that's
no.
the way that it worked.
But I actually believe that you have good intent. You know, like even when I would debate, I think she has good intent. The
Yeah,
people that I'm talking about who will remain nameless do not have good intent. They are
good.
parasites. They don't want to have a symbiotic relationship between them and the host that they're feeding off of. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
so for me, when I see parasites doing parasitic work, especially when they're actually creating a negative environment for the host that they're trying to feed off of. It doesn't do anything for the community, and it ultimately doesn't do anything for the people that they're offending or not sourcing information from to validate their position. Because if they actually did that work, they would realize that they're just making stuff up for clicks, which I'm not a fan of. You know what I
right.
mean? And so I have made it my point. I am an analyst. That's what I say. I'm not a journalist. I'm
Yep.
not a media personality. I'm a former player, analyst, and a fan. But guess what? I have enough intelligence and experience to wear any hat anytime. I could write the hell out of a column if I wanted to. I could go on TV and talk about this and pull all the data out, or I can sit here on a podcast. I can go into a locker room and talk X's and O's and schematics. I can do all of it. So I'm going to trust my intelligence and my experience to go head to head and my relationships in this business to go head to head anybody that I deem to be a site or stuff up. Like I and this is where I think I respect your position because if you want to sit back, I will not, and I know that I'm in the minority when it comes to the former players and analysts that are willing to call out names and go for
Yeah.
the jugular because some of these people have gotten a pass and they're using tenure, age, and fear to put out whatever they want because they don't actually think they're going to be challenged. And I know most people aren't going to do what I'm willing to do, but guess what? That also creates a niche for my brand. That also puts me in a lane that lets people know that, like, hey, look, I'm going to be balanced and I'm going to be fair, but I'm also going to call out BS when I see it. And I know when I see it because I've actually lived it, unlike some of these other people that are just pretending. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's where I'm going to be at on it.
No, I appreciate all that, bro. I appreciate all that. We got to celebrate this anniversary first, though. Like we got to have a little bit of, like I mean, I'm gonna say this because I know you know, right? But I hope you know. For me, I was 17 years old when you guys won that Super Bowl.
Mm.
I grew up without a football team. What you all did was an effing miracle for a kid that wanted to love football and wanted spent his entire life hearing his dad tell stories about John Unitas and Lenny Moore and watching them get together and reenact. And I hope that you understand and you appreciate like how beyond the fact that, you know, I've become friends with you over the years, like what I mean is I have a, a I have such gratefulness for the memories that you gave me, for me being able to hug my father and celebrate the Baltimore Ravens winning a championship when we didn't have an effing football team. I hope you understand that there's a whole lot of people like me that are my age that for whom this, we don't take this for granted. This was an effing miracle, what you guys did. And to take nothing away from the guys that came 12 years later, that was awesome, right? But what you guys did, that was a goddamn miracle, man. Like, that was something that our city couldn't have dreamed was going to be possible. And you gave it to us. And I hope that hits you the way that I want it to.
No, it does. And I think the 2000 team is always going to be special and has a little bit more lore behind it. It's probably going to, I don't know if there'll ever be another Ravens team that surpasses the lore of the 2000 team just because of the uniqueness of who we are and the circumstances that led up to it. And I totally get that. But what I want to protect, Glenn, and not desecrate is the allure of this team, the allure of this organization, from the owner to the front office to the head coaches that it's had. To the success
I know
that
how
we've
much
had.
you care. I know how
Because
much you care.
people when they make their critique, they don't do it with context. Like, you want to be a Raiders fan? Do you want to be a Cardinals fan? Do you want to be a Dolphins fan? And look, I played for the Dolphins and the Cardinals, and I had a great time and made great memories with those guys that I played with. But you want to know what true sadness is? You really want to know what it's like to not make a playoff run, to not have a player like Lamar Jackson, to not have a culture and an owner that will tell you how it is. Like, these are rarities. And there are people in this community that desecrate that every day because they're pushing their own agenda and their own brand, and it's not fair. And I want the kid who is 15, 16, 17, 11, 12, 13, 10, 9, 8, 7, that I want them to experience a Super Bowl with Lamar at the helm.
Yep.
And I want them to have some type of memories that are synonymous with the memories that you shared. They'll be different, but also they can remember that age and how impressionable that was. And when they hear about what we're doing as Ravens currently and formerly, and what the front office is working on and what the goals are, I want them to be proud of their organization. And what I'm not sure of is, based on how manipulated we are and the conspiracy theory driven world that we live in and the negative angle on everything, that I feel like people's psyches and emotional intelligence and their mental health, to some degree, I say that a little tongue in cheek, is getting beaten down every day by these parasites, in my opinion, that aren't interested in symbiosis, in a symbiotic relationship with the host, which is the Ravens. And then remember too, like, the Ravens are hitched to the fans, right? The fans are the hosts in this case, right? The Ravens, being the so to speak smaller entity in this case, they are what they are because of the commitment from the fans, right? Like, without the fans, there is no NFL, right? So we can't lose that either. And so my goal, being a former player, somebody who freelances in media, and also being associated with the Ravens, I have a very unique view of kind of the mental health of these entities and how they feed off each other. And the truth of the matter is that we should be happy with where we are. Have we underachieved recently? Absolutely. Should we already have a Lombardi or two with Lamar? Absolutely. Did Harbs make some decisions in real time or lack thereof that led to his demise as a coach here? Absolutely. Is he going to go somewhere and have success? I believe that he will. I believe he'll take those lessons and learn. But I also believe that we're just scratching the surface on our future success. I think Lamar is going to have I think Lamar is going to get a Lombardi. I think he's going to get another MVP or two, in my opinion. The MVP for this season, in my opinion, is Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is 37 years old. Aaron Rodgers got 3 of his 4 MVPs after the age of 30. For anyone who thinks that Lamar's superpowers are at an end, or that he doesn't have his best football in front of him, has not been paying attention to the history of quarterbacks and what they do at ages over 30. Lamar is the number 1 rated passer in NFL history right now. Aaron Rodgers is number 2. And I believe that when we address this offensive line, and we get back to work on what makes us who we are as Ravens, I expect the Ravens to be at the top of the AFC next year. And I'm saying that, yes, I'm the purple is drinking, purple is bleeding, purple is wearing, Raven is Raven. All that's true. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to give my critique. It doesn't mean I'm not going to keep it a buck and call a spade a spade. I absolutely will. But I will do it with grace, and I will do it respectfully, without personal attacks or disrespect. Like, that's what needs to happen, in my opinion, and that's my goal with these different hats that I wear.
Femi, is there anything I can plug for you, brother?
No, I'm good, man. Just holler at me, Obafemi30 on Instagram, Obafemi30 on X, and I'm gonna be out here doing this, man. So yeah,
brother, love you, appreciate you. Let's do this more frequently in 2026.
Man, love you too, man. Hey, how's Rita doing? I haven't seen her in a minute.
Everything is good. I told you there was some unfortunate stuff at the old stomping grounds. Some unfortunate stuff record, but if I know anything, you ain't keeping Rita down. Like this is there is no one that I would bet on in my life the way that I bet on Rita Hubbard, my friend. Like that she is unbothered by whatever anybody's opinion, and so we've been doing. We'll have you over. We still do a podcast together, Rita and I.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we'll have you come over, hang out. We'll do something with you. Maybe work on an event or something like that if you'd be up for it. So
Yeah, no, I'd love
we'd
it, man.
love
I'd love it.
We'd
I
love
appreciate it. All right,
Appreciate
Glenn.
you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Great to see you, man. Femi Ayanbadejo, Super Bowl 35 champion. Appreciate him taking the time for us. We'll grab a break. When we come back in, Rick Minter. He's Jesse Minter's father, and he's a coaching lifer. University of Cincinnati, and last 4 years actually on Jesse's staffs with the Chargers and at the University of Michigan. Had the opportunity to catch up with him. We're going to get that to you next as we continue along here on a Monday edition, a snowy edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue, celebrating the top people, performances, and moments of 2025 in local sports. On the cover, we recognize 4 of the most significant athletes of the year: Orioles pitcher Trevor Rogers, Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, Maryland basketball star Derek Queen, and our 2025 Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by countysports.zone. Everything you need to know about high school sports, and those schedules are going to be altered this week. So get the updated schedules by going to countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. All right, a couple of things. Agreed with you. I'm going, John in Little Rock says, I hated playing baseball in really cold or heavy rain. If you ever played the game using your hands is everything. It's nearly impossible to grip and function with your hands in extreme weather. And look, I'm not even trying to tell you that
we get it. You hate football, Glenn. We get it.
Idiots. I know. I love football. That's part of the problem. Is that what I saw yesterday really wasn't football.
It was. You've never sat through an Iowa-Nebraska football game, and
no,
it's
I've done
showing.
worse. I've watched Maryland football, so be fair.
Well, yeah, they let the other team play football. Maryland does at least.
That's a good point, right? At least one of the teams is. That's something to be said for that. I'm not. There's lots of things that I have strong opinions about. I have strong opinions that the Seattle Seahawks should, or sorry, the LA Rams should not have been the 5 seed in the playoffs. I have strong opinions that you shouldn't just get a home playoff game because you happen to have the best record amongst a random group of 4 teams. I have opinions that I'm strong about. This one is not a strongly held opinion for me. This is I lean towards, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I can, but I also say that knowing that I don't just want everything to be an arena football game either. I don't just want every football game to be 48-40. It's complicated. I yesterday felt like I didn't enjoy watching that in the second half because it felt like it wasn't a reward for quality football play. It was just almost impossible to succeed in the conditions. And I don't think that's pleasant viewing. And, somebody said, well, it's not like that all snow games have always been awful. Brought up the Ravens-Vikings thing just early in the program.
I mean, I guess it was mostly just the wind. It was really
I think the wind was arguably more impactful. I do think it was a combination of the two, right? Like if it had been the snow without the wind, like would it have been if it was just coming straight down? I don't know, man. But I did feel it. I felt that yesterday. I was like, I can't pretend that I'm enjoying this.
So is there? Yeah, but there's no. I mean, what's going to happen from this? Nothing, right? Like
nothing.
We're still going.
Oh no, nothing. I don't.
Denver's going to host the next day.
Now that being
New England or Baltimore or whatever.
Wait a second. That being said, we are seeing more places where they are putting domes on their stadiums. Like there are more places that are choosing to do it. And I have said at some point that I find it to be downright reckless to build a stadium and not put a dome on it. And I'm not telling you that a Baltimore stadium with a dome would be a guarantee to get a Final Four. I think it would be very unlikely that Baltimore would get a Final Four. I don't know if Baltimore would ever get a WrestleMania. Like we talk about events you can get with a dome, and there's only so many of them. It's not like a cold weather city with a dome will suddenly have 300 events in their stadium next year. But there are a few that can only happen with a dome. You can put yourself into that conversation, and I would like to, if there's any possibility of it. And again, I'm skeptical that you'd ever get a Final Four. Maybe. I mean, like, somebody would say, what does Indianapolis have going for it that Baltimore doesn't? And I always remind people, Indianapolis has built a downtown infrastructure for major events that is unlike maybe any city in the country. They have built the infrastructure specifically for downtown big-time events. They have built an infrastructure where during the winter, all of the hotels are connected by skywalks, and you can get through much of the city without ever stepping foot outside. Like, they have really put a lot into downtown to make it more accessible. And that doesn't mean there aren't other cities. Buffalo's is still outdoors, correct?
Correct. They do not have a retractable.
But Tennessee,
this is the new stadium that's going to open next season.
But Tennessee, Cleveland, and DC are all going to be indoors, or at least have a roof.
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah. Or
like,
if it's not similar to like SoFi, I guess, where it's like a awning, I guess, right?
Yeah,
it's like a canopy somehow.
It just seems like there's more and more that are going in that direction, because I think this is part of it too, is that, I mean, it's hard enough to get people to go to games in Cleveland as it is. Now add in the weather on top of it. Like, Jesus, man. I'm trying to think of what else from this weekend that we haven't gotten to. Oh, Griffin Clinch
Mike
picks.
McCarthy. Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, you're right. We should have led with that. You're right.
Griffin Clinch picks.
Thank you.
Eked it out. How were you nervous on 4th and 4 last night? Were you a little?
No, because I knew what whatever happened, I was still going to win the Super Bowl pick. So I wasn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah, and
Got
maybe maybe even deep down, I was almost hoping, for the sake of content, the game would have, Super Bowl would have mattered for us. But no, I wasn't. I was never nervous. I knew. I trusted my gut the whole way. I knew at least one of my teams was gonna pull it out. It felt like that. It felt like that's the way it was always going to go. Where the Broncos were going to find a way to keep picks interesting for at least one more game, and then
I was genuinely surprised the Rams lost. I actually was. I was surprised the Rams
that they
lost. I actually
lost.
truly believe
Wow.
they were the better of the two football teams. Now, part of that is Sam Darnold played better than what I had registered for him. I was expecting a good Sam Darnold. That was an exceptional Sam Darnold. So that made up some of the difference. To be fair, there is still room to debate whether or not the Rams should have gone for it on 4th and 4, kick the field goal. The argument is, what does the field goal do for you? Well, the answer is maybe you get the ball back and you still have a chance to win with a field goal instead of having to get a touchdown. But I do get it. You could see how much it hurt to have a quarterback that's incapable of moving. And it's to take nothing away from what Matt Stafford has done this season. He's been awesome. But like compare Drake May earlier in the day to Matt Stafford at night. They were happy to leave the middle of the field for Matt Stafford. We'll drop 9. We know you're not going anywhere, guy. Like we know if there's 7 yards in front of you, you can't get all 7 of them before someone's going to collapse on you, so you're not even going to bother taking off. And that does factor into the argument about 4th and 4. Like, is a Rams team less likely to be able to convert 4th and 4 because their quarterback can't move? I don't know if they would have gotten the ball back with a chance anyway. Give Mike Macdonald a lot of credit, man, and more give Clint, not to take anything away from Mike Macdonald, but Clint Kubiak making the decisions that he made to throw the ball and say, we are going to win this on our terms. We are not just going to take some time off the clock and give you the ball back. We are
Was there any part of you
been made? There's nothing to do about
Sure.
it. Right? It's
Sure.
it's like the people that obsess over the Mike Macdonald thing years later. Like, dude, get a hold of yourself. It's over. Now, it's funny me saying that because I'm the guy that didn't let the Anquan Bolden thing go still. Like, I still haven't let it go, and I never will. I'll never be okay with it. But that was because that wasn't 50-50. That was insanity. That was pure bat-s insanity. Whereas, like those of you that are obsessed with Mike Macdonald, it's screaming to avoid. You wanted a team to fire a coach that was just the number 1 seed and had a team in the AFC Championship game. It's insane what you think that the organization should have done. In hindsight, did it work out? No, it didn't. But there was no point at which it made any sense to think that Mike Macdonald was going to become the Ravens head coach. All they can do is try to find someone who's as good, if not better than Mike Macdonald. And I hope that Jesse Minter will prove to be that guy. As you're alluding to, I like Clint Kubiak a lot. I did. I wish that Clint Kubiak, for me, I wanted him to be the guy. But as I said before, I'm not in these meetings. That's just me, my personal dumb guy opinion. It's not Clint Kubiak. All's good. I'm a Jesse Minter guy now. Like legitimately, I love Jesse Minter now because he's the coach of the Ravens. And I want him to succeed wildly. And I think he's a good coach. Like, this is not them, to your point, hiring Mike McCarthy and me trying to justify it to myself. And we're probably being unfair to Mike McCarthy, who's won an awful lot of football games in the NFL, but it just seems very difficult to justify that decision in 2026. But yeah, I didn't think about it in that. Once the decision was made, the decision was made, and truthfully, I was good with it. So we'll see. Clint Kubiak, maybe he's the next Raiders head coach, and we'll find great success. Or who
not,
knows?
like all the other Raiders coaches. Yeah.
Yep, maybe that's the case.
Well,
Grant Yudinsky said thanks, but no thanks to the Browns.
Yeah.
Said, I'm good, y'all. And apparently they're gonna start talking to Nate Shieldhouse. And I guess I did enjoy the Phillip Rivers pulled out jokes this morning.
For the first time ever.
Yeah, those were good. As Phillip Rivers has decided he's not going to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. So that, unfortunately, if you're in the Joe Brady camp, that does keep Joe Brady very much alive in the race to become the Bills' next head coach. But it also takes off the table a scenario where maybe the Bills had worked out like Phillip Rivers will be the coach if he keeps Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator. That's now off the table. We'll see what they end up doing. I guess Chris Shula still has to be in play since he didn't get the Steelers job. And that will be interesting. It is weird to me that we're 4 days into this and we don't have any actual reports about like the Ravens and an offensive coordinator. And I guess that's because everyone that they would want to interview, they've
Was
already
playing.
interviewed for the
Okay.
head coaching job. So they don't have to put any more requests in for interviews. Like they interviewed Cliff Kingsbury, they interviewed Mike McDaniel, they interviewed Joe Brady, they interviewed, at least virtually, I mean, Davis Webb and Nate Scheelhaus.
So
So,
will we hear about Shieldhouse and Davis Webb if they need to bring them in a second time,
well,
or
I,
since
they
they're
would. I don't
involved in
think they would
once?
give they wouldn't do an in-person interview for offensive coordinator.
Okay.
That's Jesse Minter's hire, and they would probably give the feedback that they had and say, hey, we met with them. This is what we thought. But you have to put in the request. That's why you normally hear about candidates for jobs because you have to put in requests. But the Ravens don't have to put any more requests in because they've already talked to all of these people. So it is interesting that they're kind of doing a little bit blindly, unlike the head coaching search. Like we're going to be looking, and this is obviously a bit more compelling than the defensive coordinator search. So far in that department, we only know of one other candidate that got thrown in, Joe Cullen, who had been obviously in Baltimore as defensive line coach. More recently, had been in Kansas City, and that to me that fits the profile of kind of what you're looking for with defensive coordinator, a more long in the tooth, experienced coach, but someone who kind of recognizes I can't use this to move up any further because any success that the defense has will belong to Jesse Minter. It won't be credited to them. So Joe Cullen's the exact type of coach that you look at and say, oh yeah, that's a defensive coordinator here in these circumstances. We know that Chris Horton will not be the Ravens
Yes.
special teams coordinator as he is headed to New York with John Harbaugh. And we also know that Denard Wilson will not be the defensive coordinator as he's joining John Harbaugh in New York as well.
And this was seconds ago.
Oh, okay. There you go. Tom
Mike
Pelissero.
McDaniel.
That ends that game. That ends that for what it's worth. So back to the drawing board. But again, maybe it's Joe Brady. Maybe, and I would be on board. As you guys knew from this board, I was on board with Joe Brady as head coach if it had worked out that way. I'd be very on board with Joe Brady as offensive coordinator, but again, very concerned that it might be a short-term thing. But that's what you're signing up for when you go defense with your head coach is and this was pointed out to me by somebody in football this weekend. That fear is more realistic when you're talking about a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback. The danger of four offensive coordinators in 5 years, whatever you want to say, 3 and 4, whatever that number is, more hurtful for a young quarterback than it is for, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That if that's the way it works out, he'll probably be okay. Mike McCarthy's Steelers coach. Good luck, guys. Best of luck to you. Wish you well.
Well, they'll
A
probably
lot of hubbub.
they'll probably win 9 to 8 games or 9 to 10 games again. So yeah, it's something we got to worry about.
Probably. I do wonder.
I guess they don't have a quarterback, so that's yeah.
Well, but I mean, everybody assumes that you hire Mike McCarthy because you're going to commit to Aaron Rodgers for another year.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy, but as we went over last week, like the options aren't great.
Kyler seems.
I would rather take a
feels
shot
like
on
a guy.
Kyler.
Yeah.
But the problem with taking a chance on Kyler is that you are essentially committing yourself if that's the route that you go. So
you're not signing him to a 1-year Justin Fields deal, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah.
If Kyler Murray gets released, which I still don't think is likely. I know that we've all talked about the Dolphins being willing to take on the dead cap, but like I still think that's a tough thing to do. You're going to have to trade for Kyler Murray. You're on the hook for 2 years. And while that's not an overwhelming commitment, I still think that's a tough commitment to make. That's the tricky part of this. And again, I would rather in a bridge, I'd rather have Malik Willis. But you're going to have to overpay for Malik Willis because that's what the quarterback market looks like. So, look, man, if I'm a Steelers fan, I don't want Aaron Rodgers to be my quarterback, but it's the only way the only thing I can think is this is almost like a 1-year bit. Like, hey, we know this is it. There's one more year. It might not go well, but we weren't going to fire Mike Tomlin. We were going to let him have one more year to run it out there with Aaron Rodgers. And then we'll hope that we have the ability to draft a quarterback next year. If we happen to dumb our way into winning the division again this year, neat. But that's not what we're operating for. That's not what we're planning on. And then, yeah, as John just brought up, I heard there was a Maryland basketball game this weekend. They're bad, yes. The problems go deeper than that. And some of the other problems really started to come to light over the course of the last week. And a lot of people connected to the program started sort of tweeting about some of the issues that go beyond just the results. And those issues are that, like, nobody knows who these players are. There's no connection to any of them. None of them are involved beyond playing basketball. And the guy who's the face of the program has almost negative connection to the program. Jalen Brantley wants to be the coach. Good for Jalen Brantley.
Why not? Give it a try.
And all that's true. I mean, there is no connection between Buzz Williams and this community at all. He has not attempted to do that, and he's not going to. And as I said on Twitter this week, and that's part of what made the hire so bizarre to begin with, which is this isn't surprising. This is a feature, not a bug for Buzz Williams. It's not like you've gotten a less interested version of Buzz Williams than there was at Texas A&M or Marquette or Virginia Tech. You've gotten the exact same guy. Everywhere, when Buzz Williams got this job, I had a few people around college basketball reach out to me and say, hey, I like Buzz, but be aware of this. And while I never attempted to completely pour cold water because it's a new coach and you never want to be that guy, you always want to give somebody the opportunity to. I would share, instead of sharing mine, you should share Chuck Douglas's because I think that was more thought out. Yeah, Chuck Douglas said there seems to be a growing disconnect between, and Chuck Douglas, for those who don't know, is a Maryland alum, worked in the Wizards front office for a long time, a lot of NBA experience, and has kind of become this like Twitter persona just because of his Maryland fandom. And he says, not because of the losing, because it's largely the Buzz Williamses rather than the Maryland Terrapins. Not to mention the entire roster is made up of paid-for-hire, one-year rentals, or mercenaries. And that's going to be true in a lot of places. The latter isn't Buzz's or the players' fault. It's the current college athletics, NIL, transfer portal, pay-for-play world we find ourselves living in. But I get the sense that alums, supporters, and fans are becoming increasingly detached from the Buzz Williams traveling circus persona that seems to be the program's new identity. Frankly, Buzz and staff haven't done a very good job of assimilating into the culture or embracing the history of Maryland basketball. It's Buzzball on the front of the uniform instead of Maryland. That's fine if you're winning, but what is the connection we are supposed to embrace and defend angst over if you're losing? Where's the Maryland pride? Yeah. But that's Buzz Williams. Like that's who he is. I joked about it earlier. I absolutely think that part of his deal is he doesn't bother to ingratiate himself because he knows he's not going to be here very long. Like, he's aware of what this is. I'm here for a good time, not for a long time. The problem is, what is that good time? And as I said, is the good time at best he's Mark Turgeon? Because his career kind of suggests that's what the good time is. I can't pretend like I watched any of the game against Michigan State. I'm not watching. I'm not invested. I'm not interested, in part because I recognize that you guys aren't. If Maryland was losing, but you guys were watching and you found them compelling and I needed to talk about it, I'd be watching every game. But I can see it. You guys aren't watching. You're not interested. So why would I waste my time on a topic that you all aren't going to have any interest in hearing me discuss? We bring on Patrick every week. In some seasons, we bring on somebody calling the game before every. We haven't done any of that this year. Not once have I said to Griffin, "Hey, so
I think we
and
did
so."
opening night when they were playing Coppin State. I believe we caught up with Jason Horowitz.
But didn't he also do a Ravens game right around then
Oh
too?
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. So we did talk
Yeah.
Ravens as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was the reason.
You got me.
Yeah. Now again, could it change? I mean, they got a highly rated recruit coming in next year,
Who's a local kid, right? Like that's
maybe you get
that should help.
You should help some. There is definitely a bigger problem. But as Chuck pointed out to those who said, like, hey, is there any world where maybe Maryland could change their mind? This wasn't Jim Smith's hire after all. No, the contract
Was it 5 years?
and
6 years,
like
I guess.
basically all guaranteed.
Ugh.
More or less. I mean, it would cost them like $30 million. And I assure you that when they're struggling to find $14 million to move on from a football coach, like that, they are where they are. So it's going to be this, and you just have to hope that at some point, at least there can be some winning, because there's no real reason to think that any of the culture stuff is going to change. Like that's, as I keep saying, that's Buzz Williams. That's who he is. But, hopefully there'll be some winning. All right. We did this on Friday. Had the opportunity to catch up. I was really excited about this, and he didn't disappoint. Rick Minter, the father of the new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens and a longtime coach himself, right now here on GCR.
Of course, the Baltimore Ravens do indeed have a new head coach, Jesse Minter, and I think a lot of you know he is a coaching lifer, and he's the son of a coach, and we are really pleased right now to be joined by maybe the man who knows him best. He is Jesse Minter's father and a longtime coach himself, including being on staff with Jesse for the last few years between Michigan and the Chargers. He is Coach Rick Minter, and he's with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn back in Baltimore. Appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it, Glenn, very much. Certainly proud and honored as a dad to be proud, to be supporting Jesse on this new journey and new opportunity. He's been connected to the Ravens for over 9 years, having been hired first by John Harbaugh, who had worked for me previous years, and that was our connection. So it's been a great journey. I've been on this journey with him since 21, Vanderbilt, Michigan, and now LA Chargers. So hopefully I have an opportunity to come to Baltimore also and just see this young man get put to work and live out his passion and his dreams.
We like the sounds of that too, Coach. If you could, when did you know? I read a lot about, your relationship and the story that Daniel Popper wrote for The Athletic. But when did you know that this was the path that Jesse was going to take? And when did you, as someone who obviously knows what it takes to do this, when did you realize he had what it took to do this?
Well, our journey, of course, from birth goes on, and then we were a divorced family. When Jesse was 6 and his brother 8, his mom and I separated. And so it became, a part-time relationship, if you will, not necessarily the in-house every day that he's now enjoying with his children. But you knew at an early age. I remember my first football game as a head coach was down at Indiana University, and certainly congrats to the Hoosiers. But he was raised in Indiana, as I had been there at Ball State, a few other stops, and that's where they stayed as I moved on to Notre Dame, Cincinnati, et cetera. But I remember, back in those days, when you had your headsets on the sideline, they were all corded. Now, of course, they're cordless, and they're remote. But back in those days, it was corded, and so every coach on the sideline, be it 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, had a cord boy, what you call a cord person, that just drug around behind you, just following you like a shadow, keeping your cord untangled with all the other people on the sideline. And so he was anxious to do that while his older brother was not into it. And then I turn around one time during that very first game and find out that the older brother had taken over that duty of the cord. And I find Jesse just down the way a little bit, just staring at the field and just watching the game as a, 7, 8-year-old by that time. And so as he followed my career and we stayed together, father, son, when we could, during my 10 years at Cincinnati, you really knew he had an acumen for love of the game, the spirit of the game, following it. He began to get to know all my coaches as they came through there. John Harbaugh was one of those guys.
Yeah.
He worked on my staff. Mike Tomlin was one of those. Rex Ryan, Don Martindale, Chris Hewitt played for me. So Jesse knew all of these guys that ended up somewhat with a Raven connection and or the Steeler connection. So you just knew. I mean, Mike Tomlin really took him under his wing the 2 years I had Mike, as he was more of a junior, senior in high school at that time. And they could legitimately talk ball a little bit, talk secondary play. That's Mike's passion, and that was Jesse's position initially in high school football. So we missed out a lot by being a separated family, but when I could go see him play, I did. And when he could come to all of our games, he did. But you always knew he had this special attraction and love of the game. He tried other sports like a lot of kids. He dabbled in baseball, dabbled in basketball. And though, genetically he's not overly gifted, even as you look at him, he didn't get some of my size. He got more of his mother's size. And so he was a real try-hard guy, be it a try-hard high school football player, a D3 college football player. He always exhibited the passion and energy and the want to that you would see in a perhaps a futuristic coach.
Rick, I think a couple of things that jump out at me about that conversation. Did you ever try to dissuade him? You bring up, the difficulty of being, a coach and how your family dynamic worked. Did you ever attempt to dissuade him, or did you just know that this was what he was meant to do?
Well, I never tried to dissuade. I believe what you do with children is expose them to lots of likes in life and examples and experiences and ultimately let them choose. I remember when he was coming out of high school, not a highly recruited young man, as mentioned. He was looked at by some D3, D2 type schools, and he wanted to perhaps try to continue to play, even though as struggles that might be. So I offered him the opportunity. I was still at Cincinnati. I said, listen, you have an option here. I'm not going to be involved. I'm not going to make your choice for you. If you want to continue to pursue your dream of playing, then go to one of these little colleges around the Indiana area and pursue it. Mm-hmm. Go. Your mom and I'll take care of you. You'll have an education, have fun in college, all the things that college kids do. I said, or you could choose to come to the University of Cincinnati. And while he wasn't talented enough to play for me at our size of roster, I said, I'll teach you the ropes of how to become a coach, if that's what you want to do. I'll put you with the managerial staff the first year, like on the field, setting up bags and dummies and drills and get attached to a coach or two. Second year, let's go to the video room and learn how to film practice and do all these things step by step that you would really get indoctrinated on a high-level learning of how the business works. Third year, let's do this. Fourth year, let's do this. Well, the journey started when he decided, okay, Dad, I think I'm going to come to UC, which was Cincinnati. And he says, I want to follow that path. I want to be a coach, I think, and I want to get to know the game and want to be around you, et cetera, et cetera. So he chose that journey and came in, and sure enough, roomed him with a freshman football player over at the dorm. He jumped in feet first. He became an on-the-field manager. All the coaches loved having this guy around. And we went through that entire first season. And then as the winter came on, we got involved in winter program and all that sort of thing. He came into my office, I want to say March, probably February, March sometime. And he's all teared up. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, what kind of talk is this going to be, right? He's dating a girl in college. And what's Dad about to hear, And so he comes in there, and lo and behold, we shut the door, and he says, Dad, I want to play football. He says, I miss it way too much to do what I'm doing. And I said, okay, let's just change courses. And I said, let's pursue maybe those schools that were after you a year ago, or better yet, I said there's 2 programs right here in the city of Cincinnati that are D3 level programs. I think you ought to go explore them and do it on your own. And he did. He chose Thomas More University over in Northern Kentucky, and he looked at College of Mount St. Joe in Cincinnati over on the west side. And he went to visit these 2 programs on his own and fell in love with what we call the Mount. That's the Mount St. Joe job. And they were coming off 0-10, and the other team's coming off 10-0. And I'm thinking, what in the world is he choosing the 0-10 program for? But he bought into the mission of the head coach, Rod Huber, who is still a good friend to him to this day, that we will win, kind of like the Michigan. Those who stay will be champions. And so he went there. And lo and behold, as he goes over to do summer orientation, he finished out the semester at UC. Now he's transferring over to another college. So he's got to go through this an orientation process and registration process. And he's standing in line next to this real pretty girl who is nice. And that's his wife, Rachel.
Yep.
And they met right there. And then that started a 20-year now plus relationship and marriage and partnership. And I couldn't be more happy about that. She's a wonderful mom, lady, person, partner. And so he went to the Mount. And that year, the next year, played 4 years, had tons of injuries throughout. His career was very hampered and tainted with injuries. But he never lost the faith and the hope. And eventually graduated in December of 2005. And he'll tell you the story. He tried to go out and get a job on his own a little bit, right? He wanted to not be in Dad's shadow. He just wanted to try to get this done on his own, and he got rejected, much like the Fernando Mendoza, story you heard the other night. And he's sent out all these letters around the country to, are you interested in me as a grad assistant or something like that? And he got rejected on so many fronts. He ended up with one offer. And then about that time, I'm at Notre Dame again. I had been there before. I came back to Notre Dame, and Charlie Weiss was our head coach, Charlie Weiss Sr., and we offered him an internship to come to join us in South Bend. And he did that. So from May until what turned out to be December, January of the next year, 2007, he lived with me. So as a father-dad, a father-son, we then had a unique bonding because I had missed so much of that when he was a child. So he's working with me. He's living with me. He's got his own bedroom, kept, if you will, much like a college kid keeps his room, which is stuff everywhere. And but he and Rachel continued on their journey and their path. And he stayed with me what turned out to be 1 year until Charlie Weiss lets me go, lets him go. And I happened to pick up the phone and call Brian Kelly, newly hired at Cincinnati, and I just happened to ask him, Brian, do you have any GA jobs open, grad assistant jobs open? And he says, I think I do. So that was a good plus move for him because he moves back to Cincinnati, starts a job there. That's Rachel's hometown. That's kind of a semi-hometown for him with me being there so long. And he gets hired. Then they eventually get married, and I'm sitting in a park here if you can hear these youngsters.
That's all right,
but anyway, I got 3 grands of my own out here in California.
Man.
But so no, he got on the right track, and then he gets hired over at Indiana State, and I eventually joined him over there in 2010, and that was probably the most critical move both of us ever made because he gets there, gets started on offense, moves to defense. So he's had a brief appearance on both sides of the ball. And then I get over there, become the D coordinator just on a 4 or 5 month contract. And he worked with me again very closely, and he instituted all the things that I had learned and taught him on playing defense. And then I take off and go to Kentucky. I get my career a little bit more back on a big-time track. And but the head coach, Trent Miles, who had Jesse, he asked me, he says, what should I do now about restoring the D coordinator job here now that you're leaving? I said, you have one move to make, Trent, and that is it. He says, what do you mean? I said, you have to give Jesse this job to be the D coordinator. And Jesse's, 26? He said, you sure? I said, I am positive. And Jesse took that ball and ran with it. They stayed there another 2 years, another 6'5", a 7'4". They beat Carson Wentz up at North Dakota State. And then they were on their way down to Atlanta, Georgia, to take over the Georgia State job, which was a total rebuild program. It was brand new to Division I. And I ended up joining them back in the last year there, which was 16. They were there 13, 14, 15, 16. I had gone to the Eagles and worked with Chip Kelly for 3 years, 13, 14, 15. So I was happy to join Jesse again. This time that was the first time of role reversal. He is the coordinator.
And you're working for
and I'm coming in.
Yeah.
I'm working for my son now.
Yeah.
And I was the D-line coach at first. I said, you know what, this is going to be a challenge, me taking orders from my son. But it turned out to be a blessing. It was a great time. I found out real quick, let him worry about third downs on Friday night, right? And I can just go have a beer and relax.
That's pretty
great. But also I became a grandpa during that summer, and that's one reason I took the job, was to be around my family while Millie was being introduced to the world. So family's always been first with me, and more honored that my son Jesse is reaching his dreams come true, and that's to be an NFL head football coach. And my son Josh is a designer in New York City.
That's great.
If we end up, certainly ending up over there, we're all back on the same coast and back within a 3 or 4 hour drive. So all that'll be a positive.
That's so
That's
cool.
just a sidebar, but that's positive.
That's cool.
And we've missed, we've been on the opposite coast now for 2 years, and you feel it when you don't get to see your other child just as equally as important as Jesse is. It hurts, as a parent. So I look forward to getting back over there to where I can be closer to my other son, Josh, and his son, Cooper. And so I got 4 grands, and I'll now be back closer to all of them. So.
That's awesome. Coach, that's so cool.
Anyway.
Chatting with Coach Rick Minter, there are a couple things that just I want to jump out about Jesse as a coach, because everybody's made it, what he's done, the actual impact. Michigan was already good defensively, but then turned them into being the number 1 defense. And then we all know what you guys did with the Chargers, and they were a bottom 3rd defense before you got there, and then the number 1 scoring defense. What is the special sauce that you see? And I'm sure part of it is what you had taught him over the years, but what is it that Jesse is able to do as a coach that makes such a quick, immediate impact?
Well, number one, I think for Jesse, all through his life, whether it's his friends, relatives, teammates, Jesse has always been a Pied Piper type person. In a sense, people want to follow him. People embrace him. He's not abrasive. He's firm. He's attentive to detail and all that, but he doesn't chase people away from him with his words and his actions. He attracts people. And the players here in LA just bought right into him. He's got a great message. He's got a great scheme. He's passed me way up in the schematic world. I mean, he took that Raven package. He and Mike McDonald worked closely together. They're similar paths. I know that's what the Ravens probably looked at and say, well, hey, we got an example of a blueprint right out there in Seattle. Look what they're doing. That's a sneak preview of what they can expect, hopefully, out of Jesse, because Mike and Jesse are so close. But he does a great job of making the most out of what he has. He never complains about the level of talent, be it on a college team or now the NFL team. He just makes use of the guys we have, find out what they can do, what are their strengths, what are their limitations, try to improve the weaknesses into strengths. And he's just got a keen sense of how to break down an opponent and attack them, particularly in the key moments of down and distance, position on the field. He's amazed me. I'm his dad, and I taught him a lot of his, let's say, the first half of his career. Then the second half has been more the Raven influence and the Baltimore defensive influence. And I've learned from him. But he does a tremendous job in how he tactically or schematically attacks people, but he gets players to buy in quickly to his message. And again, he's a pro guy. What I mean by that, a professional level coach. He's not a yell and scream guy. Guys will learn that real quick. He's a teacher, and he's a collaborator. He's an involver. He wants the players involved. So they buy in quickly. Just talk to Derwin James and find that out,
Yeah. I know.
So we make the most of what we have. We have a good scheme. He and Mike are maximizing that type of scheme to the fullest. And he just took it and ran with it. And Jim gave him total autonomy all 4 years running the defense. And always grateful to all the Harbaughs for what they meant to Jesse. And on how to run a program and how to treat people, he's worked for Harbaughs, like 8 of the last 9 years. And that's good. John Harbaugh is a great man. And Baltimore got a lot of good out of John Harbaugh, and that passed on to Jesse and Mike. And now he's worked for Jim, and they're all great people. The Harbaughs is a wonderful family, starting with Jack and Jackie, the parents, all the way down, all three of their children. And he's been honored to work for Jim and both John. And he's learned a lot. Those guys know what they're talking about. Their dad was a great coach. And so all this stuff and wisdom and knowledge has been passed down. And like I told him through a message today as he's coming back to L.A., I said, there is no book for this job that you're about to do. But now it's time to lean on your instincts, your knowledge, your passion, your learning from other people, and put it to work. Put it to use. Be yourself and go forward. He'll treat people with dignity and respect. He'll be loyal to his players. And I can't wait to watch this mission unfold, just as the fans are listening to us will do the same thing. I know the expectations will be high, but we knew that when we got in the business, that everybody wants to win. I think this was the best job on the market, and fortunate that it opened for him. And look forward to seeing the offense unfold as to whoever he, surrounds himself with to run that side of the ball. He'll end up being instrumental on the defensive side, and it's going to be a fun journey. It really will be.
I appreciate what you just said there, right, Coach? Because as you know, I agree with everything you said about John Harbaugh, who I have incredible reverence for, but this is an organization that wants to win championships right now, and
that's right.
I assume that's what Jesse's. He embraces that challenge, and you guys embrace that challenge, coming in on day one and saying, we're not here to have a 5-year build to this. Like, we're here to hit the ground running.
Right. That should be the level of expectation coming from the club and the fans because of the structure and the stability of the team that's been done over time. I mean, Ozzie Newsome and Eric DaCosta, they're like top of the game in terms of draft, develop, and play.
Yeah.
And they don't make expensive free agent ads. They do it strategically, the same way that the Chargers are trying to exemplify that with Joe Ortiz coming from the Ravens of 25 years. So there is a secret formula to do it. You got to get lucky. You got to get, you got to be good. You got to be fundamentally sound. But you also just have to be lucky, and injuries play a part of that. So if the team can stay healthy, it's a very good-looking roster right now today. And just like Mike's turned that thing around in Seattle in 1 to 2 years, we hope for the same thing, just to hit it running, play great. He knows how to attack some of these better defense or these better offenses around the league. And we've held some teams in check that even come out of the AFC North. I mean, we've had track records of those guys over the last 2 seasons. We've played every team in the North. And I know they've got some turnover and changes going on right now, but he's been around now. He had the 4 years with the Ravens to start with, kind of got his feet wet. Then he went over to Michigan and honed his skills, won a national championship, going 15-0, and then hit it running in L.A. And for 2 years back to back, 23 and 24, he had the number 1 defense in the country, one in college, one in the NFL. And this year, while we had some injuries, both offense and defense, we sustained and we overcame, and he did a great job. I mean, there was a point in our season when it was like 4-3, something like that. It could have gone either way. Jesse held firm. The defense picked up, and we gave our team a chance to win every game all the way down to the last game. That AFC playoff round was 9-3 going into 8 minutes left in the game. We're holding the Patriots down in check to try to give us a chance to win the game, So I look forward to following him.
Now, have you put in a request to the Ravens yet to bring back Alohi Gilman in free agency? Have you had that conversation?
No, I have not had anything like that. That's up to Jesse to do it between him and Eric and the president and Ozzie's input. Ozzie Newsome has just been one of the greatest ever at picking players. And you just look at the roster that they now have, it's all his doing and Eric's doing, and backed by a tremendous owner in Steve. And it's just a blue blood of pro football. I mean, you're just stepping into a great job that has great expectations. He's not going to back down from those. He's going to take the ball and run with it and have fun doing it.
Coach, we're so happy for you and your family, and what a really cool story this is, and how very full circle it is, given your history with John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, that you end up here with your son as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. It's just a really, really cool thing, and be looking forward to seeing you as well, and whatever that role looks like. Coach, thank you. Really appreciate taking the time for us. Can't wait to get to see you out here and get to know you a little bit more. Congratulations again.
Yeah, appreciate it, Glenn. Appreciate your time, and go Ravens.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website costasin.com for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
I think we're both on mute.
I'm muted. I'm muted. It's my fault. Winding down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Appreciate that was great stuff with Rick Minter, Jesse's dad. Appreciate him taking the time for us. All right. Why don't we get a tidbit? Tidbit is brought to you today by the Costas Inn. 2 great locations, the OG on North Point Boulevard in Dundalk, and the new one in Timonium at the grandstand, the Costas Inn. Everything you love about the original, you can find at the new location except for steamed crabs, but everything else, by all means, they got it. What a wonderful menu at the Costas Inn. Go check them out in Timonium.
I mean, I've got a lot of different tidbits I could go with because there was a bunch of stuff from yesterday.
Do you have the how many USC quarterbacks have led their team to the Super Bowl?
USC quarterbacks? No,
Yep.
I do not have that.
How many? How many the USC quarterbacks do you believe have?
All right. Well, I guess Sam Darnold. Is he the first? No, he's not.
Sam Darnold is the one. Sam Darnold is the one. That is.
Oh, he's the one. He is the
first,
one. Okay.
First USC quarterback.
Yeah, I was like Matt Leinart. Obviously, he did not. And then I was like, I don't think I can name too many other great USC quarterbacks. All right, this is going to be the third. You got another one?
The update, there can be an updated list of the schools that have produced both a
Oh,
Super
darn
Bowl
it. Yeah.
winning. You got that one?
Yeah, I was going to give that one to you. Darn it. I mean, I think we've
I'm
done
trying
it
to
before.
remember.
We might have done it
It was
before.
I did
Yeah.
I had it on for trivia one night.
Oh,
It's
okay. So maybe you give it to
Delaware.
me.
Remind me,
Yeah.
it's Delaware, Navy, Miami, Ohio, Stanford.
Delaware, Stanford.
There's another one,
Yep,
Michigan,
there is. Yes, it is
and then
Michigan.
it could be North Carolina as well.
Yes. And then name all the can you name each president that went to each school.
Yikes. All right. Delaware is
All right, we'll make this
Biden,
it.
right?
Yep,
Delaware
Delaware
is
Biden.
Biden.
And of course the quarterback.
Flacco.
There you go. Good job.
Michigan is Ford and Brady.
Correct.
Um, Miami, Ohio is Roethlisberger. I don't know that I can
Yes.
name the president.
Should I give it to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Starts with an H. It's Harrison.
Harrison. I did know that.
Yeah. Okay. Harrison and Roethlisberger, Miami, Ohio.
Navy is obviously Staubach, and is there more than one that went to the Naval Academy? More than one president?
No, just one president.
So then it's Jimmy Carter.
Yes, Jimmy Carter.
And then Stanford is Elway.
Stanford. Yep.
Is it Herbert Hoover?
It is. Yeah, Hoover went to Stanford, and then there's a second quarterback that also went to Stanford.
Oh, Jim Plunkett.
Yep, Plunkett and Elway, and then
North Carolina would be May, and I only know this because I saw it last
only
night.
if May wins, but yes,
right, it would be May and Polk.
Yep, James Polk. And this will also be the third Super Bowl matchup where both head coaches share the same first name, Mike and Mike.
Yeah, but I bet it's the first one where they also beat in the championship week coaches who had the same.
Oh, I do think that would be true. It is, and in the previous two cases, the first names were also Mike for the coaches as well.
Was one of them Mike Ditka?
No,
was one of them Mike Holmgren?
Mike Holmgren versus
Mike Holmgren made it to 2 Super Bowls. One was against Pittsburgh, and it was Bill Cowher, so it's not that one. So it was the one when he won the Super Bowl with the Packers. They faced Mike Shanahan.
There you go. Yep, Mike Shanahan versus Mike Holmgren, and then the second Mike versus Mike.
The second was Mike Tomlin.
It was
versus Mike McCarthy.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Mike versus Mike, and then Mike McDonald versus Mike Vrabel. So yeah, there you go.
There you go. How about it?
Third Mike versus Mike matchup.
All right. Tubular brought to you by the best of issue of Press Box. Get it before it's gone. Last couple of weeks for the best of issue before we make way for a brand new print issue. Now going to have a football theme on the cover, and I think you can figure it out. As of right now, Morgan State's still supposed to be playing at Norfolk State tonight, 7 o'clock in Norfolk or whatever you call it, on HSRN. Coppin was supposed to be home tonight, but that game has been postponed. I don't think they've announced a new date yet. And the Australian Open, the quarterfinals tonight on ESPN2, including Lerner Tien.
The Americans are doing well,
huh? Yeah, I mean, like Taylor Fritz was a bit of a disappointment, but
the women are, right? Like that's
yeah, I mean they are.
What? Who's doing bad?
They're not doing. It's not that they're doing bad. It's that like Coco Gauff's dropped sets in each of her last 2 matches.
Oh, okay. So she's not winning by enough. You're betting her -1.5.
No, she just doesn't look. In comparison, Iga Swiatek lost a total of 3 games between 2 sets last night. Like, just not quite as dominant as others have looked. That doesn't mean she can't win. Just pointing that out. But yeah, Iva Jovic is going to play tonight against Sabalenka. I don't know that I love her chances there, and I don't think I love Lerner Tien's chances against Alex Zverev tonight. But God, that would be the best. That would be amazing if Lerner Tien would take out. If anyone takes out Alex Zverev, And if Leonard Tien beats anybody, but the two of those things together, oh, that would be phenomenal.
Leonard Tien only plus 175 to pull off the upset.
I mean, he's playing really well. I still think that's an outrageous line. But he's playing incredibly well. In fact, if you didn't see
There's
it,
the number 3 guy in the world. Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, well, Leonard Tien beat Daniil Medvedev in straight
sets.
Yeah, over the weekend. So Leonard Tien's playing phenomenally, but I would not be interested in that. I would pass on making that bet.
So you're saying it's a favorable line for Zverev right now.
I would say that, but I would never bet Zverev because that would involve me having to feel good if Zverev wins, and I refuse to ever feel good if Zverev wins. So don't bet it.
Fair enough.
Don't do that. All right, non-sports.
What's today? Oh, it's the season 24 premiere of American Idol. No, you're excited? Yeah. That's pretty much it.
I did not know we still did that. I genuinely did not know that we still
American Idol, of course. It's a staple. It's never going away. St. Dennis Medical, and then History Channel has a new series hosted and narrated by Ving Rhames. From Mission Impossible, History's Deadliest. That looks kind of cool on the History Channel.
Ving Rhames from Pulp Fiction, but you know, we'll go with
Mission Impossible. Yeah, sure.
Lord, he was Marcellus Wallace, man. Come on.
No, he's whatever his name is in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know. Exactly right. All right. We good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I want to take a minute here. Today would have been Mo Gaba's 20th birthday. We think about Mo constantly. We constantly feel like we are falling short of what we should be as we strive to be more like Mo Gaba. We love you, Mo, and we miss you every day, and we could desperately use your light. We continue to be grateful for every day that we had with you and for everything that you did for us and for our community. And, you know, every single one of us would do well to think more like, what would Mo Gaba do? So love you, Mo. Happy birthday, buddy. And we miss you terribly. And kind of wild to find out that on this Mo Gaba's birthday, Trey Mancini signed a deal with the Angels. How fitting that is. That Trey, today of all days, it's perfect. Just perfect. All right. Thank you today to, thanks to Rick Minter. Thanks to Femi Ayanbadejo. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the...
We're going to have the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, and Charlie XCX on Stephen Colbert tonight.
They're actually touring together this summer. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, we are going to do our annual college lacrosse preview because I know as you look outside, all you can think about is lacrosse. I understand that. And they are going to start games this Saturday. Saturday is when college lacrosse season gets underway. So Patrick will join us, and the area college coaches will be joining us tomorrow on GCR. And I believe we'll be starting that early 9:30 a.m. tip-off for GCR tomorrow for the college lacrosse preview. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Morgan.